Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to head up towards Gothenburg once again. Göteborg, as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up on the west coast. Still no idea how many times I've said that on the channel now, but there's a hell of a lot of good beer up there. But for this review we're going to return to a brewery that you've seen me review many things from before. Quite recently it seems that they've released a kind of classic mini-series of beers, if you like. I'm not sure if there will be more released a little bit later, but this is one that I am quite curious about. I really enjoyed the Trip Ale that I had from this little mini-series a few videos ago. So for this one then, we are going to return to Stigbergets Bryggeri and we're going to have a look at their barley wine this time. So as I say, this is another beer that's released in a bottle, which is the first bottle I've had from Stigbergets in quite a while actually. It must be at least 2 and a bit years, but it comes in at 10% ABV and I'm not sure whether it's going to be an American style barley wine or more of an English barley wine. I'm guessing that since the Trip Ale was released in this series, it might be more of an English style barley wine. So maybe this is Stigbergets having a go at some sort of kind of classic beers, if you like. The Trip Ale I was very impressed with, so I'm hoping that this one turns out to be just as good. And I would love to see these guys do a few more kind of other things. You know, it'd be nice to see them do a couple of lagers and stuff like that, Doppelbocks, Rauch beers. You know, they did a Scotch Ale years ago for the Olympics, if I remember correctly, and that turned out to be a very nice beer. And these guys are very capable when they try different styles as well, although of course they did make their names with the kind of New England hazy IPAs, the Amazing Haze, the Muddle, the GBG Beer Week and so on. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. A 10% barley wine. I suspect it will be an English style one from Stigbergets Bryggeri in Gothenburg on at the west coast of Sweden. Let's see how we get on with this one then. As always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Stigbergets Bryggeri before. I think there's about 25 or maybe 30 of them now, and no doubt there will be more in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Stigbergets Bryggeri first off then, on to my brewery notes. So Stigbergets Bryggeri, as I've told you before, are based in Gothenburg on the west coast of Sweden, and the company was founded by Nils Hultkrantz and Richard Simonsson, and the pair own 2 bars that share the one kitchen, and this is Bar Kino and the Hagabions Cafe, and you can find these on Linegatan in the city. They both opened back in 2007, and the building that you'll find these 2 cafes in is actually an independent cinema, and they've got a lot of interesting films and stuff there. And before I went to actually visit the place, when I went to Gothenburg, I had no idea about that. I thought they were, you know, it was just basically a kind of double shop front type thing, but no, it's an independent cinema. You can check out my out and about video that I did in the Bar Kino and the Hagabions Cafe if you are interested there. Hopefully next time I can spend a bit of time in Hagabions, because it was Bar Kino that I filmed most of my things in. So originally the idea that these guys had was that they would brew some beers to sell in the bars, but this led to them kegging the beer and then selling it on to other pubs before they eventually started bottling the beers starting in November of 2014. So the original beers that they brewed were mainly English and German style, so I do wonder if this is kind of what they're going back to at the moment. But more recently, of course, they made their name for the kind of hoppy American styles of beer, the New England IPAs. The original head brewer who created these beers was Ole Anderson. He created the GBG Beer Week for 2016 and the Amazing Haze, and the other one that kind of goes along with that, synonymously if you like, is the Narangi, which is from his own company, OO. He has been working with them full time, I believe, since 2017. For a period of time he was replaced by Barnaby Struve, who was one of the vice presidents at Three Floyds, but he was only there for maybe about 3-6 months, something like that. But more recently Stigbergets have opened up a new brewery at Partihalarna. They've got a 5,000 litre brew kit there, which is pretty damn big compared to what they used to have, but they've also been working on some sour beers as well. Another big change for this brewery was that they changed to selling their beers in the 440ml cans instead of the 330 bottles like this, and this has allowed them to export their beers a lot more. They are fairly easy to find over in England and Scotland and places like this now, from what I understand, and these days they have a brew team of Ollie Banks, who used to work for Beavertown in London, and also Lucas Munraid, who used to work for All In Brewing, one of the numerous gypsy breweries around Gothenburg. But yeah, as of July 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced in the region of 65 different types of beer according to Untappd. I do suspect the number is bigger than that, because these guys were brewing very small batches before the whole Untappd thing got to Sweden, from what I understand. But they now have a bar in Stockholm as well, which I believe opened in April of 2020, very early April, and they've also kind of got the Bar Kino, the Hagabion's Cafe, which is the sort of unofficial tap room of both OO Brewing and Stigbergets Bryggeri in Gothenburg. So I would recommend that you go and check that out. And there's also the Omnipoyo bar not too far away from it as well. But very nice place to go if you find yourself in Gothenburg. As I said, if you are interested, you can check out my out and about video that I did. And I would also recommend that you go to the Brewer's Beer Bar in Gothenburg as well. That's owned by Dugis, Electric Nurse and All In Brewing. So yeah, that's also worth checking out too. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Stigbergets Bryggeri for the moment. These guys have done some very, very nice beers. The best ones I've had from them recently, I would say, are probably the the King of Hops, and the Queen of Hops was very nice as well, in fairness, and the Ololeo. The last two IPAs I've had from them, the Three-Headed Cod was nice, but also the hop selection was quite nice as well. But I do think the Ololeo and the King of Hops were slightly better. But yeah, this one, as I say, a little bit more of a kind of classic take, if you like. But yeah, if you want to learn more about Stigbergets, you can check out the brewery website. They've got an extensive list of all the beers on there. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And of course, you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. This one, as I say, the artwork on this is very similar to the Trip Ale that we reviewed a few videos back, the 8% Trip Ale, which turned out to be very, very nice. This barley wine, as I told you at the start of the video, is 10% ABV. I do suspect that it will be an English style barley wine, which, you know, I could be wrong about, but the English ones, of course, are a little bit more sort of phenolic. And kind of roasty and toasty, if you like, compared to the American ones, which tend to be very, very sweet, and the fruits tend to be a little bit kind of brighter, almost, if you like. But yeah, 330ml bottle, this one. I actually can't remember what I paid for this. I think it might have been around 40 Swedish crowns. But there you can see the typical Stigbergets bottle cap on this one. And yeah, quite nice to have a Stigbergets beer in a bottle for the first time in quite a wee while. You could, of course, age this for a little bit if you wanted to, but I was just very, very curious to see how it turns out. But this one was released as part of the Lokal och Småskalig assortment for July 2020. I forgot to say that earlier on in the video. So the exact release date of this beer in Sweden was the 1st of July 2020. But let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Very curious to see what this one has in store for us. So yeah, there we go. Oh, this one I think will be pretty nice. In terms of the appearance and stuff, it's very difficult to tell whether it will be an English or an American barley wine, but we should be able to tell a little bit from the flavour. It could, of course, be something in between, who knows. But it's certainly on the pour, it does smell a little bit more like an English one than an American one. It doesn't quite smell as sweet as some of the American ones that I've come across before. But yeah, the colour of that is lovely. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up on the camera, but the best way to describe the colour of this beer is copper. It's a lovely sort of gingery, coppery type colour, this one, a deep kind of coppery amber. I think that's definitely fair to say. You can see that when this beer poured, there was a good half, 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say kind of lightly kind of fawn coloured head. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, and the head incidentally is just fading away to be a very thin foamy layer. That does tend to be the case with higher alcohol beers. The head does tend to fade away a little bit and just kind of leave a very thin foamy layer. But yeah, lovely coppery colour. This one, it is crystal clear. I'm not sure how well you're going to see that because the glass is sweating a little bit. But yeah, this one is crystal clear. Not sure how well you can see that, but yeah, lovely looking beer, this one. So yeah, let's have a closer look at that aroma then and see how we get on. Nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance, but I would say this is one of the brighter barley wines that I've come across in my time reviewing beer. So yeah, let's have a little look at this then. Ooh, this does smell very nice. Yeah, I want to say that this is a more English smelling barley wine. It's definitely got more of a kind of graininess and toastiness to it. The American ones, of course, tend to be very sort of caramelly and sweet, if you like. So yeah, I think this one is pretty damn interesting. So yeah, definitely more of an English smelling barley wine. I do wonder if there's a bit of Maris Otter in this. There is just something telling me. A few of the kind of biscuity, bready notes that are coming out of this are Maris Otter, but this is a very, very nice smelling beer, I have to say. Big thumbs up to Stigbergets, and I do hope that this traditional series is here to stay. I'd love to see these guys try, you know, like Schwarzbiers, Dunkels, Helles, things like that. Another Scotch ale would be awesome too. It's cool to see them it's cool to see breweries, I think, paying more attention to the more traditional beer styles, because I think everyone's been doing the sours, the Berliner Weisses, the Goses, the hazy IPAs these days. People are forgetting about the more kind of classic traditional beers, if you like. And for me, when it comes to English beer, not a great fan of bitters, I have to admit. Not a great fan of the kind of bitters and golden ales and stuff like that. For me, English beers are all about the porters, the stouts. Some of the brown ales are very nice as well, but then the barley wine, I think, is the king of the English beers for me. But yeah, this one is very, very nice. So yeah, straight away with this one, you can smell the big kind of boozy quality that the beer has. Lovely big kind of oily, caramelly character underneath it, but it's quite a roasty, toasty caramel, if you like, a well-fired kind of brown sugar, a little bit treacly almost, and that again is one of the characteristics of the English barley wine rather than the American one. The American one's really, really lean towards the sweeter side of things, but this one is definitely more kind of roasty and toasty and grainy at the same time. So yeah, lovely kind of grainy base. There is an element of sweet caramel in there, but like I say, it's got a more kind of treacly molasses sort of note. Definitely some McVitie's digestive biscuits in there. Maybe a wee touch of like a Werther's Original, but definitely more of a well-fired, toasty brown sugar. You do also get the impression of a bit of brown bread, to be honest with you, but that it almost feels like it's kind of infused into the brown sugary elements of the beer. There's a wee bit of a kind of woody undertone to it as well. You know, it does feel that there's a little bit of a kind of woody undertone to the beer, which is quite nice. Maybe one or two little slight nutty elements to it as well, but those are quite minimal. I would say that the woody and nutty tones that this beer has in the aroma are more minimal than anything else. They're almost a little bit difficult to detect actually, but if you've had a lot of these beers, you will start to pick up little things like that. Does it have a wee bit of a leathery element? Maybe even a tiny little bit of a leathery thing, but these are all kind of minimal things that you can get. The brown sugar dominates the aroma here, definitely. It's a very kind of brown sugary and a well toasted brown sugary quality that comes out of this beer, in my mind. But yeah, I like how this aroma goes together in this one. On the hoppy side of things, there is a light little bit of earthiness there. There's a good wee bit of a kind of herbal quality as well. I do suspect English hops in this. Probably it's Bramling's Cross that they would have used in this. There is something very familiar about that. I do suspect Bramling's Cross in this. That's the hop that was traditionally used in the English barley wines. So yeah, and it's very familiar. But yeah, you've got a nice little bit of a lighter earthiness in there. I do find the earthiness in this one a little bit not quite as dark as you might get from some of the English barley wines that I've had and some of the other English hops. Wonder, could they be using German Northern Brewer? Could be a thing. There might be a combination of Bramling's Cross and Northern Brewer in this one. Northern Brewer is a very popular hop to use both in Dunkels and in Doppelbocks. I don't know if they use it in the Alt beers as well, actually, because the Alt beer flavour profile would fit that, to be honest. More of a malty kind of thing. But yeah, these hops, the Bramling's Cross gives you a nice bit of a red fruity character to it, you know, like black currants, figs, things like that. And the Northern Brewer gives you a more blackberry, black curranty type note. It's got the slightly brighter floral characteristics as well. But yeah, hoppy side of things, Nice little bit of lighter earthiness there. Some nice, a nice little touch of floral aromaticity, wee bit herbal, and you've also got a bit of a lighter kind of grassy thing there too. But the fruity side of this beer is quite interesting because it does come across as a little bit more sort of phenolic, like cough syrupy medicine and things like that. It's got a little bit of an almost kind of jammy type quality to it. But yeah, you've got a wee bit of a figgy note to this beer. There's a wee bit of a slightly raisiny sharpness in there as well, and a few sort of blackcurranty, blackberry, figgy sort of notes coming out of this one. But yeah, I do like how that how that side of the beer goes together. But look at this, just when you sugar the beer up and around, you can see how oily this thing is. But yeah, fruity notes for me, raisiny, bit of a kind of jammy note to it. Maybe there's a wee bit of a kind of sultana type quality to it as well, sultana apricots. It's got a little bit of something kind of brighter in there. Maybe a few kind of peary elements to it as well. So sultanas, pears, apricots maybe. A little bit of a raisiny sharpness, but you've also got figs and a little bit of a kind of blackcurranty, blackberry-ish type thing in there as well. Definitely has a little bit of that kind of Cavonia, like cough syrupy type thing to it as well, which is interesting. But yeah, lovely aroma on this one. Definitely everything about the aroma is telling me English style barley wine this. So let's have a taste of it and see how we go on. This beer is simply called Barley Wine. It seems to be from the Stigbergets Classic series, as I would call it. It doesn't have that name officially, that's just how I'm referring to it. But yeah, this one is, by as far as I can go by the aroma, it's an English style barley wine coming in at 10% ABV. So let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål. Yeah, that's really nice. Flavour profile as well, English all the way. It is an English one all the way, there's no doubt about that. As I said to you before, the key difference between the English and the American ones, it's the level of kind of malty sweetness you get out of them, and the English ones, as I say, are a bit more roasty and toasty and slightly bready. That's where this one kind of sits on the spectrum, definitely, and the fruitiness is definitely a bit more kind of phenolic and things too. So yeah, I like how this one goes together. But yeah, this beer gets a big thumbs up from me. I really like this one. At the same time, you know, I say that this is an English barley wine, but it does have a little bit more of the kind of American chewiness to it actually. This is really pretty damn solid actually. We certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again, and it just kind of goes to show you that when Stigbergets do try the more classic styles of beer, very, very capable. And we've seen a Belgian one this month, and we've seen an English one. I need to check the list and see what's coming out for August, but you know, this, if they are going to do these regularly, I will make sure that I have a go at the other ones. On the basis of these two, then they would be nice. I'd love to see them do a mild actually, an English mild. That's a style that I do need to explore a little bit more, to be honest. I need to talk to some of the English guys and get some good traditional recommendations for that. But I think I'd love to see them do, on the basis of this, I'd love to see them do a Doppelbock. I think that would be a really nice thing for this brewery to do. But this is lovely. This is great. Some ways as well, this actually reminds me of Eskilstuna Ölkultur, up in that's out to the west of Stockholm. Those guys like to try all these different kind of classic beer styles, and they do a very, very good job at it. I've had some nice tripels, quadrupels, Belgian blondes. I've had a great Scotch ale from them before. Yeah, you know, Eskilstuna Ölkultur. If you want another brewery in Sweden that are very good at the traditional beers, then that's one that I would recommend you check out. Those guys are very, very good at that. But yeah, it's cool to see one of the more kind of prominent breweries, I guess you could say, one of the bigger ones, having a go at these styles and raising a bit of awareness about other things. Because as I say, it's all about the hazy IPAs and the Berliner Weisses and the Goses and things these days. So it's cool to see the more traditional beer styles getting a bit of recognition, if you like. But yeah, let's try and break this one down then. So the first thing you're going to notice about this beer, it's a big oily beast. You'd kind of expect that. Straight away with this one, you get a nice bit of a kind of bready base, just blanketing middle of your palate. It's quite a grainy bread. It's like a kind of brown, bread crusty type quality. That's the thing that blankets the middle of your palate. When you go towards the back third of your tongue, the graininess does get a little bit more kind of prominent. You've got a little bit of a sweeter kind of, you do get a bit of the brown sugar sitting on top of that, but yeah, a little bit more kind of grainy and a little bit more kind of dry on the back third of your palate there. But it's really nice how that, how all of that goes together. But in terms of the middle of your palate, it's the middle third of your tongue where the complexity really comes out of this one. So yeah, as I say, you've got that brown, bread crusty, brown bready base there. You've got a nice island in the middle of your palate where there's a big sort of sweet, brown sugary, oily thing there. Then everything else is sitting on top of that. In the middle of it, you'll get a really kind of sweet caramel out of the beer. As you move further out from it, you will start to get a wee bit of a slightly Werther's originally type flavour, and then as you reach the very edge of it, it's quite, it's a little bit more biscuity and McVitie's digestive like, but it does have a little bit of a kind of toasty element to it as well, which I really quite like. But yeah, definitely a nice little bit of toastiness coming out of this beer as well, I think. I really like how that kind of pieces together in this one. So yeah, thumbs up to Stigbergets on the way the malty side of this beer goes together. The nice kind of brown sugary roasty toasty side of thing in there is done very well, and also the kind of graininess of the brown bready notes is also very nice actually. I'd be curious to know what the malt base of this one is. I do suspect that there is a wee touch of Maris Otter in this one. There is something oddly familiar about that. But yeah, if you go to the back corners of the front corners of the palate, then move diagonally back a little bit, you'll get a few wee woody undertones to the beer. If you go to the very centre of your tongue and move forward, you get one or two little nutty elements. The whole leathery thing I was picking up in the aroma, that can go straight out the window. Don't really get any of that in the flavour. It's a big malty, oily beast, this one, but it's beautifully done. As I said, the malt base in this one is everything you would expect of an English barley wine. Maybe you need to see about getting a few bottles of this and giving it to the English guys to review. I'd be curious to know some of their takes on this one as a classic English barley wine. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, there's a little bit of a soft earthiness there. As you move further forward along the sides of the palate, it gets a little bit more kind of herbal. As you reach the front corners of the palate, there's just a little bit of a kind of floral aromaticity coming out of the beer, and as you go round the very front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy actually. So I like that about it, kind of classic English hop profile. But I really wouldn't be surprised if there is one of the German hops like Northern Brewer in here as well, because there is just a wee bit of Germanness about the grassiness. The grassiness and the floral notes are a little bit bright. Whereas English hops are a bit more kind of herbal and earthy in my experience. But yeah, doesn't matter. Nice beer anyway. So the front third of the tongue then, where the fruity notes come out. So yeah, fruity side of this beer is really very nice. It's very big and oily. So straight away when you take the beer in, it's got a nice kind of, it does have a bit of a kind of sultana, apricot-y, jammy type quality to it. So if you go towards the back of that part of the tongue, yeah, a little bit of apricot, a little bit of sultana. You can feel the apricot-y notes kind of pushing their way out on the front of the palate as well. But yeah, the fruity notes that this beer has, I think, are very, very nice. In terms of the in terms of everything else that's going on, I mean, if you go to the back of the palate there, there's a wee bit of a, as I say, you've got a bit more of that kind of raisiny kind of note there. There's a bit of the kind of juicier raisins. Then it evolves as you come further forward to a bit more sultana-like and kind of apricot-y and jammy underneath. Maybe there's one or two kind of perry esters in there as well. But as you reach the very kind of front edge of the tongue, the front tip of the tongue, definitely some sort of juicy figgy quality in there. And then going off into the tail end of the beer, it's like a little bit of blackcurrant and blackberry type thing. So I really like how I do like how that goes together. The fruity side of this beer I think is very nice, but it does have a kind of underlying slightly phenolic quality to it, a little bit of that kind of medicinally cough syrupy type thing. And I've never figured out with these English barley wines, is that something that comes from the yeast, or is it the way some of the malts and the hops interact? It could well be something from the Bramling's Cross hop that I suspect is being used in here. But yeah, it does. This has everything you would expect of a traditional English barley wine. It gets a big thumbs up from me, and I think this is probably one of the best examples of an English brewed barley wine that I've had. The classic one, of course, that everyone would talk about would be the likes of Thomas Hardy, which is, you know, pretty damn impressive actually. We get that beer every year in Sweden, like a month or two after it's released, so I need to make sure and review some of the different versions of the Thomas Hardy, because that we do get that every year. I've reviewed one maybe a year or two ago and it was really nice, but yeah, we always seem to get that. But yeah, I really like how this one goes together. Massive thumbs up from me. Very nice example of a traditional English barley wine. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say this is a big oily beer. No doubt in my mind that this one is full bodied. Carbonation is very smooth, as I said, oily rather than anything else. It does have a bit of the kind of cleanliness you expect. It's got that kind of Nordic water, clean water type thing about it, if you like. You really get that to it. In terms of the hoppy bitterness, again, I think it's very low in this. So this is a beer that you can, I don't know if they've made this quite far in advance and then let it sit for a little bit, but usually you should always let barley wine sit for at least 6 months. I noticed as well that they don't have a best before date on this one, because probably, you know, it can sit for years and it's still going to taste nice. The only thing you'd have to worry about is oxidation from the bottle cap, but yeah, you could always put a wax tip on it if you wanted to. But yeah, as I say, the hoppy bitterness on this, I think you'd be lucky to get about 20 IBUs out of this, to be honest. There's not a lot of hoppy bitterness to this beer. But yeah, it does have the kind of hoppy flavours that you would expect, in fairness. But yeah, as I say, lovely big sweet malt base. There's a bit of a kind of grainy quality to it as well that comes out further into the aftertaste, but lovely big oily quality in there, and lovely big kind of oily fruity notes to this beer as well. But as I said, massive thumbs up to Stigbergets for this one. This is really nice. Again, the Triple was very impressive. This one again is very impressive. So I do hope that they continue with this classic beer series. A Scotch Ale, a Doppelbock, Quadruple. I'd love to see those. If you've watched the channel before, you know that I'm a bit of a fiend when it comes to the big malty beers like this. So yeah, really enjoy this one. Although in fairness, a barley wine does have a good whack of hops in it as well. This is basically the big brother to the double IPA. All those beers related with the hop to malt ratios, of course. But yeah, beautiful beer, this one, and again, massive thumbs up to Stigbergets for this. This is very, very impressive. So long may the classic series continue. But yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Stigbergets Bryggeri as well. Hopefully we can review more classic things like this in the future. I do hope there are more schedule for this, but of course you will see more beers from Stigbergets. These guys are always releasing things through the Lokalis Moskalid, and I do like reviewing the Stigbergets stuff. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Thank you again for watching my reviews. Check out my social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite Stigbergets things are. Do give me some other English barley wine recommendations as well. Let me know some other Swedish brewed barley wines, because I don't think I've reviewed all that many of them, in fairness, and that's something I would like to fix on the channel too. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slanja, skål, cheers, catch you guys very soon.